Here we go. Greetings to you, music lovers and thrill seekers, conversationalists all across the bountiful, fruited plain. Rush Limbaugh on Hump Day. It's the middle of the week. It's great to be with you. The telephone number is 800-282-2882. The email address lrushpo@eibnet.us. I'm just doing one thing here, folks. Okay. We're going to need sound bites 20 through 22 sequestered at some point as well. Mr. Broadcast Engineer. Hey, folks, before I get started with everything on the program today, and including how about a Democrat who is on the House Intelligence Committee who has now been outed as being manipulated by a Chi-Com honeypot. The woman's name is Fang Fang. Some call her Fing Fang. Some call her Fung Fang. Some call her Fang Fung. Some say it's Fang Fing. Regardless, there is a Fing in there somewhere, and she's got her hooks into Eric Swalwell, congressman from California. Now, this guy is as smarmy and as unlikable as anybody you could meet. And he was leading the charge about how Trump needed to be impeached. Trump was cavorting with Russians. He was the guy leading the charge on the golden shower story from the Steele dossier, which we all now know is true or false. There never was anything about the Steele dossier is true. In fact, it was all made up, bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton. But Eric Swalwell was the one leading the charge on it. Now we find out that this is an Axios story, which is friendly media as far as Swalwell is concerned. So he's on the House Intelligence Committee, and he has been compromised. He has actually been run by a Chinese spy. A very attractive Chinese Chi-Com honeypot may have given him the money to run for the House of Representatives seat that he has. So you know what, folks, what's becoming apparent to me, we spent 4 years, this entire country spent 4 years having to listen every day. I mean, and 4 and 5 times a day. The New York Times, for example, sometimes had 4 different stories a day. They had whatever story made the print version of the paper, and then they had their digital version, and that story would appear there. It would be updated a number of times. So you could have, during the course of a single day, 4 different stories that were all lies. I mean, there wasn't a single shred of truth to any of these stories, and yet they quoted famous intelligence community sources. Most were anonymous. We had spokesmen like Clapper and Brennan who were lying through their teeth on television, but when they were testifying under oath, they were telling members of Congress, no, we've not seen any evidence of the Trump campaign colluding with Russia. And the Republicans on the committee knew they were saying this, but then they go on CNN, lie through their teeth about it. Trump he's an agent. He's a traitor. Trump is working for Vladimir Putin. I don't know what he's doing. Trump's an idiot. Trump's a useful idiot. I mean, just making it all up. And we went through 4 years of this. 4 years of having to fend off and deal with this, and knowing the entire 4 years that there were a bunch of Americans who were believing it. And more Americans were believing it every day because they just kept piling on. The more you hear something, and there was never any correction to anything that was wrong. There was never any apology. And even when all this blew up, even when all of it was exposed, there has yet to be an apology from the mainstream media to their consumers, to their customers, for having gotten the story wrong. They just moved on to the next one, which is why we call them drive-by. They roll into town, they shoot something up, they cause a gigantic mess, they ruin people's lives, and they get back in the car and they head on down the road to the next thing. And meanwhile, law-abiding people are left to clean up the mess. That's the drive-by media. And Eric Swalwell was pushing every one of those lies. Throughout those 4 years, we were told that it was Trump and by extension the Republican Party that had deep ties to the Russians. Jeff Sessions had to recuse himself because he had lunch with the Russian ambassador. A bunch of Republicans had to recuse themselves, apologize, resign, retire because of the appearance of impropriety. They'd somehow been mixed up with the Russians. Meanwhile, what was really going on all those same 4 years, what was really going on, and the story that was really missed was it was the Democrats and China. It is obvious now, folks, the Chinese own the Democrat Party. The Chinese own much of American pop culture, if you include sports in it. They own the NBA. They own individual players in the NBA and in certain other American sports. They're responsible for their endorsement money. They're responsible for, in some cases, their contracts with the individual teams for whom they play. I mean, we know the story of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. It is the Democrat Party and the Chi-Coms who have long been colluding against the interests of the United States. So we'll get to this and unpack this further. But before I go any further, I mentioned yesterday on the program that a very prestigious honor was bestowed upon me yesterday and last night in Washington by the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is one of the longest surviving conservative think tanks in the country. They have they've been around longer than I have. They've been around 50 years, 35 or 50 years. It's been, as long as there has been conservatism, there has been the Heritage Foundation. And they have been a bulwark, and they have stood strong, and they have not wavered, and they never turned against MAGA. They didn't do any of the things that you find that maybe some individuals there did on a rare occasion. For the most part, the Heritage Foundation has always been dependable. They are what you expect them to be. They are what you hope them to be. And I have had an ongoing relationship with them since shortly after this program debuted on August 1st, 1988. Well, last night in Washington, they dedicated some new studios. They're expanding, and they built a new broadcast complex. And they created new radio studios. They're actually going to have radio programming originating from the foundation rather than have to traipse to various radio stations around town or around the country. And they dedicated those studios to me. In addition, they gave me an award. The Titan of Conservatism Award was presented to me last night. And I want to share with you a couple of audio sound bites from Kay James of the Heritage Foundation, who made the announcements last night. Here's the first of two sound bites we
Long
have.
before I became president, I used Rush Limbaugh as my true north for decades. I've been listening to his show since the very beginning. I even remember going to the dedicated Rush rooms in restaurants where you could listen to the show on your lunch hour. In his first few years with a nationally syndicated show, I always marveled at how people could call him up and say, "Thank you for speaking up like you do." I thought I was the only one who had those beliefs. The fact is, Rush helped bring the conservative movement together 3 hours a day for a family meeting.
That's Kay James of the Heritage Foundation. Now, all of this is happening without any strategy behind it. I mean, I'm trying to just make my mark as a broadcaster, as a radio guy, and I have my own goals as a radio guy that I'm attempting to accomplish, achieve, maintain, and hold. And it happened to dovetail with the conservative establishment in Washington at the time, most of whom I didn't know. I didn't know them personally. I got to know them over the years, and not just at Heritage, but a number of other different places. And it's interesting to me how here I am doing what I'm doing without knowing about the existence of any of these other organizations. I mean, I heard of Heritage, but to me they were not what I was doing. They were a think tank. You know, I'm a broadcasting tank. And the interests nevertheless coincided. And it helped firm up a movement and give it legitimacy and so forth. And there was I got to tell you, folks, at the beginning of the radio program, you had traditional human behaviors that dominated. There were some people ecstatic that there was a radio program out there that was properly, correctly identifying and promoting conservatism. You had others in the conservative movement who were jealous. And then you had others who didn't like it at all because I didn't go to college and didn't have a pedigree, didn't have a reputation that they could point to with pride. Like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? What university did he go to? Well, he didn't go to university. Oh, no. So our leading spokesman on the radio doesn't even, just barely went through high school? Yeah, that's about it. Oh, no. So there was that kind of reaction. But Heritage never had that reaction. They never once had any airs about them. Ed Fullner was the chairman, the president of the Heritage Foundation when I was first starting the program, and he welcomed me in and got me introduced to all kinds of people there. And I met people otherwise wouldn't have met had it not been for Heritage. Here's the second K. James bite.
The extraordinary reach of his #1 radio talk show has allowed him to convert millions with his common sense, everyday language explanations of why conservatism works and how every American benefits because of it. Everyone in America knows that the conservative movement simply wouldn't be where it is today without the venerable Rush Limbaugh.
The venerable Rush Limbaugh. K. James of the Heritage Foundation. So I got the Titan of Conservatism Award last night, and they named their brand new broadcast complex the Rush Limbaugh Radio Studios. And that's forever. That's going to be forever. There's going to be people walking in there recording things, and they will know that they are in the Rush Limbaugh Broadcast Complex at the Heritage Foundation. So thank you. I'm Mr. Snerdley saying well deserved. I wanted to take just a moment here at the beginning to thank everybody at Heritage for both of these honors, because that's what they are. The Titan of Conservatism Award in the Rush Limbaugh Broadcast Studios. And very appreciative, and I cannot thank them enough for over 30 years of a very good, close working relationship that we've had, and look forward to many more. Now, my friends, we take a brief time out, and it will come back with all the rest of today's exciting big broadcast right after this.
The courage to fight
and the talent to succeed.
Rush on the EIB network.
let your perceived ethnicity box you in. Experience a new satisfying social construct with world-famous identity coach Rachel Dolezal.
Got no rhythm? Can't dance? Or just want some affirmative action going on to help you get and keep a job? Me, my tanning bed, and an awesome home perm will help you self-identify your way to success.
This former Spokane chapter president of the National Association for the Advancement of Confused People will help you carry forward on your life continuum and make that happen.
I can do Puerto Rican, Native American, Mexican, but I don't do Asian.
Get down with the struggle on a new, real, connected level of personal empowerment and self-identification with Rachel Dolezal. Live at the Bombay Inn Executive Meeting Room every Thursday night at 8.
No, I'm here just waiting for the printer to spit something up. Greetings and welcome back. Rush Limbaugh here behind the golden EIB microphone. The Swalwell story, I'm going to try to cut to the chase. Let's go to audio sound bites. No. Do a story first, and then we'll go to Swalwell, trying to talk his way out of that. The headline, Suspected Chi-Com Spy. This is the now famous Fang, whatever her name is. Slept with and courted U.S. politicians. She's being called a Chi-Com Matahari, nicknamed Fang, however you wish to identify her. And her innocent little dupe, Eric Swalwell. Now, note that congressional, there's more on the babe here. Congressional leaders, presumably including Nancy Pelosi, were told about this. And yet Swalwell was still put on the House Intel Committee after they told Pelosi that this guy was being run by a Chi-Com spy. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Dianne Feinstein had a Chi-Com spy who was her chauffeur for 19 years. I think the guy also stocked her Pacific Heights refrigerator. The guy was very close to Di-Fi, and she claimed, I didn't know the guy worked for the Chinese. Oh, you didn't? You didn't know your husband had business dealings with the Chi-Coms? You didn't know that your husband was benefiting from legislation you helped pass as a senator? The Chinese, ladies, they are so all over the Democrat Party. You'd be stunned if somebody actually did a tree diagram to show you. So they tell Pelosi that Swalwell is being run by a Chi-Com spy, Fang. Very attractive Fang, by the way. And yet Swalwell was put on the House Intel Committee despite having no military or any other background in intelligence. He was put there because he is a raw partisan and he knows how to play raw partisan politics. Suspected Chi-Com spy slept with and courted U.S. politicians. Chinese Mata Hari allegedly slept with at least 2 Midwestern mayors while cozying up to a slew of politicians across the country in a bid to infiltrate the U.S. political system. She was on a mission, a U.S. counterintelligence official said of Fang Fang, and it included plenty of seduction before the feds got wind of her antics, and she vanished in 2015. The idea was for Fang Fang to maneuver herself into key government circles, sometimes into politicians' beds, in order to gain personal information about them while ingratiating herself with unwitting potential up-and-coming heavy hitters, intelligence sources told Axios. U.S. officials know of at least 2 mayors who had romantic relationships with Fang Fang. She's now in her probably late 30s or early 40s. Had these relationships for 3 years or so. She had sex with an Ohio mayor in a car. An incident caught on FBI electronic surveillance, an intelligence official said. The mayor asked Fang Fang at one point why she was into him. She said, "Well, I needed to improve my English." I can't laugh because of pain in my sides here, but I have to tell you, this is hilarious. She was into the mayor because she needed to improve her English. Well, let's go. No. We don't have enough time to get the first soundbite in. Well, Eric Swalwell, so get to that after the break at the bottom of the hour. Now, Swalwell is saying that he didn't do anything here, that he's clean and pure as the wind-driven snow, that this is all Donald Trump. Donald Trump is doing this. Donald Trump and the Russians are doing this. Now, anybody with a brain understands that Swalwell was compromised by the Chi-Com spy, just like Dianne Feinstein was. He refuses to say whether he had sex with the honey trap because he says it's classified. Is that not great?
And now, Saving the World with Al Gore Jr.
Hello, this is Albert Gore Jr. And as I said in the New York Times, I, for one, genuinely wish that the climate crisis were an illusion. But unfortunately, the reality of the danger we are courting has not been changed by the discovery of at least 2 very small mistakes in the thousands of pages of careful scientific research. Small mistakes happen every day. Ask Charlie Rangel. He went on vacation and had no idea who was paying for it. Nancy Pelosi thought it was okay to fly friends and family and associates to Washington and to Copenhagen so that they could be near her. Honest mistakes happen all the time. Ask Governor Patterson, who sent a couple of state troopers to a woman's house to deliver a Hallmark card of sympathy, and it was mistakenly caught up in the press as some sort of threat. Well, I say all that to say this, that honest mistakes are made every day by Democrats everywhere. What's a few degrees in temperature either way? Cut me some slack.
Join us next time as we once again save the world with Al Gore Jr. Attention Newsweek readers, there's never been a better time to receive or renew your subscription to Newsweek.
Wow, I haven't read that liberal rag in years.
What if we told you about our new amazing subscription offer that not only guarantees you'll have an entire year of Newsweek delivered right to your door, but it also makes you a publishing magnate.
Okay, I'm game.
For only $19.99, you'll receive an entire year of the slightly slanted news coverage, opinion, and interviews you'd expect from Newsweek.
I'm not sold yet.
And by checking our special Buy the Magazine box on the bottom of your subscription card, we'll give you the entire magazine for only $1.
Yeah, I'm getting a year's worth of the magazine.
No, you're taking the entire Newsweek operation, staff, printing press, and our debt.
Newsweek, huh? Hey, you got a deal on Playboy?
For this amazing Newsweek offer, call 1-800-BROKE-RAG. That's 1-800-BROKE-RAG. Newsweek, another failed institution of the liberal media. Now a message from President Barack Obama on how he plans to help Americans cope with higher gasoline prices.
My fellow Americans, I'm sure that you, like most Americans, are feeling pinched economically by higher gas prices at the pump. Recent political events in the Middle East have destabilized oil-producing nations, disrupting supply, raising prices, and calling into question America's dependence on foreign oil. As president, I would have preferred a gradual adjustment, but I can't do anything about the high cost of gasoline. But you can. Buy the all-new Chevrolet Volt, Government Motors' first full production electric car for just under $50,000. Consumer Reports said it was the only electric car that GM makes, and that it was capable of going up to 28 miles in the snow. And you can extend that range by taking along an optional 400-pound second battery.
Yes, you can buy an electric car that's slow, fuel-efficient, American-made, and more expensive than a Toyota Prius, even after a $7,500 tax credit.
The Chevrolet Volt. Last month we sold over 281. Who knows how many more we'll sell if gas prices reach an optimum of, say, $15 a gallon.
The Chevrolet Volt. Buy here, buy now.
So I checked the email during the break, and I guess this email doesn't surprise me. Guy says, Rush, you single-handedly informed us about the Texas case before the Supreme Court. They end up taking the case after your show ends yesterday. And what are you talking about today? Eric Swalwell? Do you realize we don't care about Eric Swalwell? Let me tell you something. I don't either. But let me tell you why this matters. See, we do things here for the long term, folks. We do things building a foundation of things that will survive as history examines the program for years and years and years. Now, as I just said, we just had 4 years. It's still going on of lies, character assassination. We've had 4 years of people like Eric Swalwell and everybody in the Democrat Party, everybody in the news media trying to destroy Donald Trump over things that didn't happen. They had to make up the golden shower story that Trump hired a bunch of prostitutes to urinate on a bed in a hotel in Moscow that Obama and Michelle Maybell had slept at. They made that up. They had to make up everything. There was not a single shred of evidence that Trump had done anything illegal at any time, anywhere. They've been able to prove nothing. They've had to make it all up. They had to lie to get warrants to spy on Carter Page. Look, you know the drill. So now, during those 4 years, what was going on? The Democrats were in bed with the Chinese. And I'm telling you, the Chinese pose a much greater threat than the Russians. The Chinese are so much more advanced when it comes to tech, when it comes to cyber hacking. I mean, the Russians, they're not slouches, but the Chi-Coms, I mean, just leave them in the dirt. And here we have the Democrat Party was standing there, sitting there, all haughty-taughty, all filled with this phony confidence and bravado, telling the people of this country that their president was a Russian agent. Their president was a Russian spy. Their president was illegally elected. Their president needed to have the presidency taken away from him. While all of that was going on every day for 4 years, the Democrat Party had various members literally in bed with Chinese spies. And who knows what they were giving up? Who knows what state secrets Swalwell was giving up in Pillow Talk? Who knows? But if you think nothing, you better think again. Eric Swalwell is not anywhere near smart enough or good-looking enough to keep Fang hanging around for real. Fang will be hanging around because he is worth her time. She is an agent. She is a spy. Dianne Feinstein had a spy for 19 years. on her personal staff, was her driver, stocked her refrigerator, made sure, kept ice cream for Nancy Pelosi in the fridge, in the freezer. The Chi-Coms economically outpaced the Russians like you can't believe. The Russians have a smaller GDP than Texas. Is the DittoCam on or off? It's on. It's on. Okay, thanks. Was it off or on? All right. Okay. Well, no, I can see it fine. I got a note here saying a DittoCam is off from somebody who can't see it out there. And I'm sick and tired of it, so thought I would ask you. Yesterday, same guy told me the DittoCam was off and it was on. So is it on right now? Okay, fine, thanks. So anyway, these people have these close personal relationships with Chinese spies. We know that Biden owes whatever wealth he has to China. His son Hunter, all kinds of sleazy deals with the Chi-Coms and in Ukraine. Now, this was real stuff. That stuff actually happened. All the Trump stuff was made up. It had no basis in fact whatsoever. So that's why I'm spending time on this. Because we're having games played with us. Ongoing, needs to stop. If it's not going to stop, people need to know exactly how this is happening and why. It's extremely frustrating here, folks, what the Democrat Party gets away with, and they get away with everything because there is no media. It's that simple. They get away with everything because there isn't a media tracking down Eric Swalwell. If a media tracks Eric Swalwell, finds out that he's in bed with a Chi-Com spy, they'll cover it up for him. They don't care. If they think he's valuable to the cause, they'll cover it up. There is no media. Let's go to some Swalwell sound bites. He was on CNN this morning with Jim Sciutto. Question: did you have any concerns about Fing Fang before you had a defensive briefing from the FBI to make you aware of her threat?
I was shocked. I was told about this individual, and then I offered to help, and I did help. And I was thanked by the FBI for my help, and that person is no longer in the country. At the same time this story was being leaked out is the time that I was working on impeachment on the House Intelligence and Judiciary Committees. And if this is a country where people who criticize the president are going to have law enforcement information weaponized against them, that's not a country that any of us want to live in. And I hope it is investigated as to who leaked this information.
So what is he talking? He said, I was shocked. I was told about this individual. This is Fang Fang. I offered to help. I did help. I was thanked by the FBI for my help, and that person is no longer in the country. That person's no longer in the country because they got caught. Not because you had anything to do with it. You're still not out of the woods. Next question, are you concerned that you shared any information with this person before you were notified by the FBI?
Well, I know that I didn't. Again, I can't talk too much about the details of the case, even though others may have violated their oath. I'm not going to violate mine. The people who did share classified information were the people who leaked this story. And to do that against a critic of the president, they may think that they're going to silence me. They're not going to silence me.
Nobody wants to silence you. You have nothing to say anyway. You're just a hack. You're nothing more than a predictable party hack. Nobody's trying to silence you, Mr. Swalwell. You're not that important. What people are trying to find out is what you gave up. What kind of state secrets did you volunteer? You didn't even know you had a spy in your midst. In your bed. Next question. This is textbook Chinese influence operation, Congressman Swalwell. They happen frequently inside this country. What does this tell us about the degree of the threat from China today?
In our congressional offices, Jim, we don't have the technical capabilities, to run background checks on people who are around us. And my district has a third people of Asian descent. And so, you don't also want to stereotype people as spies. And so I think this means we need to invest more in our intelligence resources that we don't have people who can
So, you see,
successfully do this.
He doesn't have enough money in his offices in order to run background checks. And since so many people in his district are Asian, he cannot accuse any of them of being spies because that's bigotry and prejudice. No wonder the guy was targeted. He's a stupid sitting duck. He's not going to turn anybody in if he finds out that they happen to be spies. We don't have the technical capabilities to run background checks on people who are around us. This is ludicrous in this day and age. And how about that excuse? Well, there's so many people in my district are Asian, I don't want to stereotype people as spies. You're not. You think it's more important if you're dating a spy, if you are sleeping with a spy, don't you think it's more important for this to be learned and acted upon instead of covering it up and hiding it because you might offend some Asians in your district? Well, we know the answer. Of course, you're not going to want this news out. You're not going to want it revealed because it points out how easily duped you are. Anyway, that's Eric Swalwell, and he's been one of the most hateful critics of President Trump in the past 4 years. And everything he accused Donald Trump of doing was baseless. Nothing. Not a single word of things Swalwell accused Trump of doing happened. And yet, at the same time, Swalwell was actually in bed with an official state-sponsored spy of the Chinese government.
The most powerful name in talk radio. Rush
on the EIB network.
Half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. This is Rush Limbaugh. The Excellence in Broadcasting Network and the Limbaugh Institute for the Advanced Studies of All Things that Matter. Here's Herb in Youngstown, Ohio, as we go to the phones. Herb, it's great to have you. Hi.
Rush, Mega Midwest, gurgling cod dittos.
You remember the gurgling cod?
That's going pretty far back.
That's going back to my first trip to Boston. That would easily be in the early 1990s.
When you first started talking about that, I thought you were referring to Senator Kennedy's driving skills, but apparently I was wrong.
No, what it is, it's an actual ceramic work of art in a sense, because it's the way it's designed. It's about 15 inches high, and it's white, and it looks like a codfish. It's a pitcher, and you fill it with water, and as you pour water out of the thing, it gurgles like a stuck toilet. Like a stopped-up. It's the funniest thing that you hear, and as the more you pour, the more the gurgle sounds happen. It's a brilliant design, and we always associated it with Senator Kennedy. But it was given to me by my host on that tour to Boston, and it's somewhere in the various office complexes of EIB. I just don't know where it is now. We haven't demoed the gurgling cod in decades. I'm glad you reminded me of that. What else is up?
So what's up is I wanted to dovetail my comments with your comments about the Chinese. I mean, the Chinese have been trying to buy off American Democrat politicians going all the way back to the Clinton administration. Doesn't appear that they want to, try and buy off Republicans, but, you mentioned Peter Schweitzer's book. The entire extended Biden family is into the Chinese for millions of dollars. It's not just Joe. It's not just Hunter. It's Joe's brother.
Oh, I know. Yep, exactly right.
Not only that, the Chinese are buying off Hollywood. They're paying off major media, not just in the United States, but Europe and the UK. They're sending all kinds of money into the American university system. You wonder why our kids are being taught socialism is good. Well, if the universities are getting tens of millions of dollars from these people, does 1 + 1 = 2?
1 + 1 = yes, it does.
So, my comment is, the Chinese, obviously they want to be number one in the world. And to be number one, you got to beat number one. But apparently the Chinese are taking the strategy of instead of trying to beat number one, they're just going to pay number one off under the table. It seems like that's what they're really trying to do here.
Well, I think they're trying to do that without having to engage the military. But they are prepared for that if it were ever to come to it. And if you talk to U.S. military people, if you can get them to be, shoot straight with you, which is sometimes a tough thing to do because so much of what they deal with is classified, they will tell you that the far greater threat faced by the United States is China, both militarily and economically. The economic threat, they do want to be the lone superpower economically. That's one of their objectives, and they know to accomplish that, they have to weaken us. And they are well on the way of implementing various aspects of their plans or strategy to pull that off. You're right about them buying off so much of the American market. They literally they own they own Nike, for example. They own all the people Nike endorses. This is Chinese money. That is. They own Colin Kaepernick. I mean, these people are all bought and paid for by Chi-Com money, made to look like the Chinese are not even part of the equation, and they accomplish that by infiltrating these various American corporations, keeping them afloat, or having enough of a financial presence in these companies that they can't be ignored. It's been a slow but purposeful evolution the Chinese have had, and it's ongoing. I'm glad you called, Herb. Thanks much. Nan, the Villages, Florida, you're next. It's great to have you here.
Hey, Rush. I just wanted to let everybody know, I'm not giving up, and there's 74 million people that feel the same way. And if the Dems and rhinos think that Trump is going away, if he, by some chance, doesn't make it in, he knows where the bodies are buried. He is going to be their worst nightmare.
What? Trump knows? Trump.
I'm a Trumplican.
Wait. Trump knows where the bodies are buried?
You better believe. He knows everything that's going on in D.C.
And
he's so smart, so much smarter than anybody he's dealing with out there.
So what's he going to do with the knowledge of where the bodies are buried?
Well, that's up to him. But I'll tell you, it's just funny. Everything that they accuse Trump of doing, they're doing. So he knows exactly. I've just got faith enough in him to know that he's going to know what to do to handle everything. And I believe that he is God's anointed for a time such as this, and he will be reelected.
What do you want him to do? What do you want him to do if he doesn't win this Texas thing? If Biden becomes president, what do you want Trump to do the next 4 years?
I want him to get investigations going, paying as a private citizen. I'd love to see him start a news network, and all the other fake news will go by the wayside, except for the little bit of people that still watch Fox News. And
Interesting. So you want Trump to spend his entire fortune building a news network and investigating all the Democrats? Well, I could go for that myself.
Rated the #1 talk radio personality of all time, Rush Limbaugh,
on the EIB network.
And welcome back. Just enough time to wrap up the broadcast hour. I have got a photo of the gurgling cod that I will be able to show you on the Ditto Cam when we come back from the break here at the top of the hour. And we'll get into the Texas lawsuit and what the odds are that it will be successful. So sit tight. We'll be right back.
Is Donald Trump threatening the election by sabotaging the United States Postal Service with poor service? Boom. Let's look at the facts. Just a few days ago, the mail service began to suddenly slow down, became inefficient and bloated. They even lost that birthday card to your Aunt Martha. And postage stamps don't taste like ice cream anymore. Yes, everything was fine until Trump began to meddle in the most efficient, blindingly fast, and cost-effective means of delivering your vote. The United States Postal Service is nothing sacred to Donald J. Trump.
I'm Donald Joe Biden, and I mean Trump, and I approve of this. Darn, I almost had it.
Okay, let's take it from the top again.
We now take you behind the scenes at Joe Biden for president. Let's listen in as President Obama praises Joe.
And then Joe Biden chose me to be his vice president.
Well, Joe, you nailed it.
You really think so?
Absolutely. You take your worst critic, someone so phony and stupid that will always make you look good by comparison, and you put him on the team as VP.
Don't you mean put her on the team?
Oh, yeah. Right. Eat your oatmeal.
Join us next time when we take you behind the scenes at Joe Biden for president. Got questions about historic, systemic, institutional racism? Look no further than the Democratic Party. No political party has been on the wrong side of racial history more than they have. Like before the Civil War.
Slavery forever.
After the Civil War.
The KKK forever.
The 1920s.
Jim Crow forever.
The 1950s.
Segregation forever.
The 1960s.
Integration never. Well, all right. You people can live on welfare forever. If you vote right. And don't leave my plantation.
The Democratic Party. Isn't it time to tear it down?
One morning in the not-so-distant future.
Hi, you've reached the new City of Seattle 911 call center. To better serve you after successfully defunding the police and losing more than half of our citizens and businesses, we invite you to personally select the service of your choice at this time. Oh, and if this is a serious medical emergency, get an Uber to your nearest hospital, since we can't send the police with paramedics anymore. Okay, if you're a victim of violence, press 1 to let us know where this offense occurred, and we will remove the statue or offending symbol that triggered you. If this call involves the theft of so-called personal property, press 2 to reach a privilege counselor who will help you understand the root causes of your privilege and white fragility. For all other sources of conflict that you may have experienced, keep in mind that certain minorities only have to obey the laws they agree with. Now, to help reduce your increased stress level at this time, we invite you to meditate on this tone.
What new media partnership will be more successful than AOL Time Warner and bigger than MSNBC? Al Gore and Al Jazeera have now teamed up to bring you Al Gorezira TV.
Gentlemen, I know this will be a great partnership since we are like-minded on so many issues, and I appreciate your making me the on-the-scene commentator in Israel. And I love the turban, but this vest is kind of bulky and uncomfortable with all these wires hanging.
But you must wear it for your safety. And remember, don't push the button until you are in Israel.
But I want my surprise now. I'm going to go ahead and push the button.
No. Remember, you only get the surprise when you cross the border from the West Bank into Israel.
Okay, I'll wait. Can I have a massage before I go?
It's Al Gorezira TV. The stupidest idea since Al Gore.
Reimagining the police isn't hard if you try. Maybe it's time for police officers to serve in a different way.
Hey, officer! There's no extra ketchup in here!
Sorry.
And persuade more than they protect.
John Weldon, in light of the third murder you've committed this week, I'm advising you to give yourself up for the sake of the community. Or else. Please?
No!
Well, folks, our work here is done. Call us if you have problems. Bye!
No police, no arrests. No arrests, no crime. Simple. Reimagine your police today.
I'm Donald Joe Biden, and I removed this. Yeah.
And I'm Kamala Harris, your next president.
If this is what I think it is, this is rich. Let me read something here real quick. Should have Swalwell. Why, this is... I have a soundbite here by Marie Harf. You know who Marie Harf is? She's the female version of John Ossoff, female version of Pajama Girl. You know, an Obama ad for Obamacare. And she was on Fox earlier today, the program they call Outnumbered. And it's like 5 women and 1 guy, or 4 women and 1 guy. It's hosted by Harris Faulkner. And the 1 guy is called the luckiest guy because he's on TV with 4 women. And they're supposedly all gunning for the guy. At any rate... Here, let's just play the bite. Because Marie Harf was very distressed over all of the things being said about Eric Swalwell and being in bed with the Chi-Com spy Fang Fang.
Even some of the comments that have been made on this show, that they had a close relationship, that he was compromised, none of that is borne out by the reporting. None of that is backed up by facts. None of that is backed up by evidence yet. So I think when we are reporting these very sensitive national security stories, we need to focus on the facts. I think all of us covering this story need to actually be a little more careful with our language. Members of Congress have tens of thousands of donors that give money to them, and there's no evidence that this one donor impacted anything he did in Congress. So let's not say that on air when we don't have the facts.
You gotta be, for 4 years, People like you can lie through your teeth about Donald Trump being in bed with the Russians, being a Russian spy, being a traitor, and worse. We had to listen to 4 years of people like Marie Harf go on and on and on about how Trump was compromised. He was a Russian agent. Some of his administration was too close to the Russians, like Flynn. We had to get rid of these people. And now we can't say that Swalwell did any of this on the air. We don't have any evidence for this. Is the hypocrisy, and it's times 10. And she, believe me, folks, she has no awareness what a big hypocrite she is. She thinks that she is just uttering brilliance here. She has no idea of the gigantic level of hypocrisy she's engaging in here. 4 years. We know what this Chinese spy did. We know she did it with other Democrats as well. We know she's a honeypot. She was there in order to attract guys, to put them into heat. She knew how to do it. She's in there getting all kinds of state secrets from Swalwell. I don't care if he's denying it or not. If they're going to be able to run around and say the things they said about Trump when they knew they were false, by the way, they knew they didn't have any evidence. They knew there was none ever. As evidence of that, again, a reminder, we got James Clapper and Brennan, and they're both testifying before various House committees. And under oath, they are saying, we've never seen any evidence that Trump and the Russians had anything to do with each other. Never seen any evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. And they leave those hearings after being under oath, and they go on CNN and say just the exact opposite. Just say the exact opposite. That Trump is a Russian spy, that there's evidence and Trump's going down. Trump's not going to be able to survive. Trump is going to go down and he's going to take Vladimir Putin with him. Trump is guilty. All this stuff, and they never had a shred of evidence because they were making it all up. And by the way, I don't know that anybody ever said that Fang Fang was giving Swalwell any money, except for Harf. Harf is saying she did, but I don't know anybody else saying it. And she just did in that soundbite. This is, folks, this is the kind of stuff that it really grates on me because these people, I don't know how they get positions on TV and why they are not held accountable. She can sit there for 4 years, and she's not alone. You know it as well as I do. 4 years and literally have a free rein, a license to destroy Donald Trump with any kind of lie or distortion that she wants to use. Then you come up with something with close to evidence on Swalwell. You can't say that on the air. That's very unfortunate. That's very unprofessional. That's very unkind. We don't have any evidence for that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, here's the gurgling cod. We had a caller in the last hour who wanted to ask me about the gurgling cod. And that's it. It's a ceramic, it's a work of art, per se. It's a pitcher. I guess you could put long-stemmed flowers in it if you want. But traditionally, it is a pitcher, and you put a beverage in there, water, and the attraction of the gurgling cod, the reason that it sells is because of the noise that is made when you pour water or whatever liquid is in it. When you pour it out of the gurgling cod, it makes this sound. Oh, I thought it was louder than that. But anyway, I hadn't heard that sound in a long time. But it is loud and it gurgles. And to see it happening while it's happening with the water flowing out of it, you can't help but laugh. So that's what the gurgling cod is. Now, will this Texas lawsuit, will it overturn the 2020 election? Julie Kelly has a story at Great American website. Yeah, Great something. I have a mental block, and as usual, it didn't print. But grab audio soundbite number one just to set this up. This is me from yesterday explaining to people what's important about the Texas lawsuit. This is a very serious allegation because in these states, any changes to election law must come from the state legislatures. They have what's called plenary power over election law. Individual office holders in these states cannot arbitrarily change election law, whether there's a pandemic or not, whether there is some kind of a natural disaster brewing out there or not. They just can't do it. So people have said, well, why does Texas care? Well, because if these 4 states are allowed to get away with basically undermining the United States Constitution, then all existing election law is moot. It's out the window. And that's why it is thought that the court here almost has to take it. Look, they don't have to take anything, so it's risky to put it that way, but the ramifications of not taking the case are pretty high. So they did take it. They announced late in the day, close to the end of business, that they were going to take the case. Julie Kelly, writing at American Greatness, in a lawsuit filed Monday before the Supreme Court, the state of Texas accuses 4 other states, currently won by Joe Biden, of using the COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse to violate the Electors Clause and the 14th Amendment. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton suing Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin for usurping the sole authority of state legislatures to create election law, and charges that millions of absentee ballots were unlawfully processed by local election officials. The bill of particulars against the 4 rogue states is quite damning. Unelected bureaucrats like Pennsylvania Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar and members of the Wisconsin Election Commission changed rules at the last minute and without any authority. Local election workers flagrantly violated numerous state election laws. Rejection rates for mail-in ballots were far lower than in the primary elections, despite the unprecedented volume of absentee voting and the statistical probability of Joe Biden's victory in those 4 states as of 3 a.m. November 4th, 2020, was less than 1 in a quadrillion. The statistical probability of Joe Biden winning in those 4 states as of 3 a.m. on November 4th, that's Tuesday, that's Wednesday, it's the day after the election, it's early in the morning, given Trump's substantial lead, an 800,000 vote lead in Pennsylvania, was less than 1 in a quadrillion. It really is amazing. Trump has this 800,000 vote lead in Pennsylvania, massive leads in other states, these 4 swing states. And then the votes all of a sudden are stopped counting. The counting is stopped around 11 o'clock in these 4 different districts or cities in swing states. Everything came to a screeching halt. And it's a real puzzlement that Trump outperforms himself 216 to 220. He gets far more votes from Hispanics and African Americans and women in 2020 than he got in 2016. Biden underreports Obama in terms of certain voters, but yet in these 4 swing cities, in 4 swing states, Joe Biden ends up with a massive number of votes after the counting is resumed, after Republican observers are sent home, thinking that the counting is over for the night. Why was the counting ever stopped? Well, the answer is obvious. They needed to go out and find votes. I'll tell you what really happened, in my view. I think what really happened is that they had no idea just how big a victory Trump was going to secure here. I think they I think a few of them bought the notion that he was going to lose, maybe. They believe their own polls. They thought it might be close, but I don't think any of them thought that Trump was going to get the number, the amount of votes that he got. So their task, the night of November 3rd, the morning of November 4th, was far bigger than they had ever imagined. They needed to come up with millions more votes than they ever planned on needing. They had to stop the count. They had to keep Trump's lead in Pennsylvania at 800,000. It couldn't go higher. It couldn't get up to 1 million. They had to stop it. They had to stop it in Wisconsin. They had to stop it in Michigan. They had to stop it in a number of other places. And then they had to do some real dancing to get these Dominion machines to spit out the number of votes that they needed for Biden in order to stop what was happening for Trump. The bill of particulars against the 4 rogue states is quite damning. The unelected bureaucrats like Kathy Boockvar, members of the Wisconsin Election Commission, changed the rules at the last minute and without authority. Only the state legislature can change election rules. Nobody else can do it, but they took it upon themselves. Here's a quick bunch of highlights. In Pennsylvania, Kathy Boockvar, who was appointed by Governor Tom Wolf, Democrat, in 2019, unilaterally and unconstitutionally ditched Pennsylvania's signature verification statute and extended the deadline for receipt of mail-in ballots, including envelopes without a postmark, until 3 days past Election Day. She just arbitrarily did this. That's how long it was going to take them to come up with the votes they needed. Unilaterally and unconstitutionally ditched, just eliminated Pennsylvania's signature verification law. Then extended the deadline for receipt of mail-in ballots, including envelopes without a postmark. That normally would make them illegal. She extended that deadline until 3 days past Election Day. Now, Julie Kelly has explained in previous columns, Pennsylvania election law expressly prohibits the processing of mail-in ballots until 7 a.m. on Election Day. That rule was clearly violated. Pennsylvania also does not permit ballots to be cured. Cured is another law local election officials ignored. Cured can mean fixed, examined. This number of constitutionally tainted ballots far exceeds the approximately 81,000 votes separating the candidates. In Georgia, Paxton et al. Claim that the number of unlawfully handled mail-in ballots in Georgia far exceeds the margin of victory between Biden and Trump. Biden is purportedly ahead by fewer than 13,000 votes. Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who wrote an op-ed in Monday's Wall Street Journal claiming that the 2020 election was the most secure in history, accused President Trump of running the Stacey Abrams playbook by refusing to concede. Raffensperger made unconstitutional changes to Georgia's election law in March of 2020. He and the state's Democrat Party reached a settlement that made it much harder to challenge signatures on absentee ballots. That change was not approved by the state legislature, meaning it's illegal. If the court, these are just 2 states now, and with 2 little tiny illustrations of violations of law that they're not tiny, they're major. And if the court does hear this case, if they actually hear it, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what choice do they have. There are so many violations of state election law here. I mean, some of this stuff is, you can't ignore it. I wouldn't think. I got to take a brief time out, my friends. We'll be back after this.
This Christmas, put a little Limbaugh under the tree with gift subscriptions to the Limbaugh Letter. Your gift of Rush's monthly newsletter will provide an oasis of inspiration, education, and logic for your lucky gift recipient throughout the year. Order now at rushlimbaugh.com. You're listening to the EIB Network. Now, Hillary Clinton's recently discovered Secretary of State on hold message.
You have reached the office of the United States Secretary of State. For directions, press 1. For tour information, press 2. For help with a problem, please press 3.
For help with your problem, please continue to hold.
You are caller number 1014.
For faster results, press 6 for our foundational concierge service. Welcome to Pay for Play. Help 3 needy Americans and get your business deal approved overnight by making a voluntary tax-deductible donation to the Bill, Hillary, and sometimes Chelsea Clinton Foundation. Enter your gift amount now with the touchtone keys on your phone and wait for instructions. For $500, you couldn't look at the building for that. $5,000, great. You're now on our Christmas card list. $50,000 will get you a complimentary coffee mug with her face on it and a Christmas card. $5 million? How can we help you? Endorse your dictatorial regime, approve your sketchy international transaction, or provide you with needed national security secrets. For $5 million, we can do it all. Just send your request and credit card number in an email. Please make it in the form of a yoga class schedule or wedding planning question. But don't send it to her official email. Send it to mamamula@buymysecretaryofstate.com. Thank you for using our foundational concierge service, a product of Pay for Play. Bye-bye.
You have reached the office of the United States Secretary of State. For directions...
Do you ever experience headaches, perspiration, a strange burning sensation in your jaw, or persistent brain fog?
Yeah, brain fog.
Then you may be Wi-Fi sensitive or Wi-Fi intolerant. Dr. Jeffrey Frizzell, Associate Professor of Middle East Literature, recently said,
AM and FM radio waves obviously cancel each other out, but Wi-Fi waves are running wild through our bodies.
And what people are susceptible to Wi-Fi waves?
Of those who are on a gluten-free diet.
So gluten actually protects you from Wi-Fi?
Yes, absolutely.
Add gluten to your diet today and save yourself from the ravages of unwanted emails and internet searches traveling through your body. This message brought to you by the United Gluten Industry Council, the Friends of Gluten, and this station.
Hi, welcome back. Back to the phones we go. Charles in Oakland, Maryland. It's your turn, sir. You're up. Great to have you here. Hello.
Rush, long-time listener since August of '88. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you, sir.
And best to you. I'll get right to my point. If Fang Fang was drilling a dry hole for 4 years with Eric, she would have moved on to another congressman. I mean, I can't believe that Eric thinks that she was just working there. She is a spy. Spies glean information. That's how they get paid. That's how their masters like them.
Exactly.
If she was there for 4 years and wasn't getting any information, she would have been canned or moved on to another person.
That is an excellent point. It's exactly right. They don't have time to waste on this. And if Swalwell is a dry hole, as you say, we already know he's a dry ball. The idea that he'd be a dry hole is not a big stretch. And so he must have been providing something is the point. Or she wouldn't have hung in that long. You know, the people that work for the Chinese government, I don't know if you see how they're portrayed on television shows. If you watch, there's a show called NCIS Los Angeles. And because of where that show is set, it's set in Los Angeles, they often use Chinese spies as characters in story development. And they portray them all. They're obviously beautiful, both men and women. They're beautiful, they're great looking, they are young, they are classically intelligent and so forth. And all that may be true, but the fact of the matter is they are nothing but employees, and they have to produce. They are as under the gun as any other employee of the Chinese government is. Now, some of them rank higher than others. Some of them are in what we would call management. But this woman like Fang Fang, the American media might portray her as a honeypot and somebody who's running around compromising American political officials. All that may be true, but the truth be known, she is a number. She is simply an employee. She has a job to do. She has got results that she has to provide. And if she doesn't, she is in big trouble. They all are. And so I'm just long way around saying, if Swalwell isn't giving her anything, she's out of there. She doesn't have time to mess around. She's not in this for love or any of that other stuff. Swalwell had to be worth something because of how long she was there.
And now, a belated Oscar nomination rant from two guys who know what a camera is for.
The Justice Brothers.
After recently learning that the Oscar-nominated actress for The Black Swan
was not black,
we decided to investigate this year's Oscars.
And to our surprise, there were no people of color nominated. No black actors, no black films, nobody even painted a set.
Nothing. The King's speech was nothing like I Have a Dream. Just some pasty, uptight English dude trying to say pancake and dog for 2.5 hours.
For 2.5 hours? That's entertainment?
True Grits, a major motion picture by Soul Food, didn't get nothing.
And even though as a people we have been relegated, humiliated, and segregated to low-budget ethnic comedies,
it's buckwheat all over again.
We didn't even make it into the running for a comedy Oscar.
Amen. This year's favorite to win for Best Comedy is about a bunch of really confused white people, and the kids are all right.
It should have been The Kids Are All White.
Hollywood, it's time to come out of the closet and leave the hood behind.
Sharpton and Jackson, the Justice Brothers. Next year's Oscar hosts? Not a chance.
What are you talking about?
I protest. You can count on it.
Why does a hapless, hopeless candidate with 6 delegates to his name still stay in the race for president? Find out in Mr. Smith Still Wants to Go to Washington with John Kasich as the not-so-lovable Jimmy Stewart.
I don't even know what I'm doing here, but all this gosh darn bickering has got to stop.
Then leave.
But nothing will stand in the way of this governor's determination to leave the grateful people of Ohio and move to D.C.
You just don't get it. I can deliver Ohio and my national 100% of the confused Republican vote on Election Day. Just make me vice president.
No deal.
What about Secretary of Mental Health?
I'll think about it.
Great. You'll never be sorry.
Mr. Smith Still Wants to Go to Washington, coming soon to a primary near you.
Hey, remember, a vote for me is a vote for vice president.
Introducing Barney Frank and the long-anticipated premiere of his new CD, Gay Wedding A Go-Go.
If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your ear.
If you're going to San Francisco with that special somebody, don't forget to take along the wedding album everybody says is just fabulous.
No one will ever vote for us to get married, so we're going to the courtroom instead.
And what same same-sex wedding would be complete without this all-time favorite.
If monogamy is the answer, then who's the wedding for? I just saw your lover as he headed out the door. Where is Bob? Where is Bob?
With Gay Wedding A Go-Go, choosing the music will be the easiest decision you two will ever make.
I thought I was going to be the bride.
Now I'm going to be the bride.
Well, I just had my hair done.
But I bought this dress, and you're stepping on it. Get off!
Barney Frank's Gay Wedding A Go-Go. Available everywhere this record is sold.
My friends, the holidays may be the perfect time for decorations, gift giving, reflecting on the year, but it could also be a perfect time for cyber bad guys to compromise devices like your phone. That allows them to steal your personal information, most often without you even knowing about it. Don't get sidelined by one of these cyber criminals this holiday season. Get some protection. Go with Norton 360. That's your best answer here. This is online software, works on your computer and your cell phone to protect the data you have on those devices as well as what you send and receive. It comes from Norton. These people have been doing computer security since before there was an internet, since before there was interconnectivity. They were experts in securing hardware, desktop computers, and they have evolved and they have kept pace as consumer availability and access to more and more information technology has become available. Norton 360, the latest iteration. This is online software, works on your computer and your cell phone. It comes from Norton, longtime leaders in online security. Real-time protection. They've got a VPN, virtual private network. It's the simple, best way to actually hide your connection and make your connection invisible. So if you're on a public Wi-Fi network and there's a cyber thief sitting nearby and he's trying to figure out who is connected to the network so he can plant malware on their device, or even worse, he'll never see yours. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're on a VPN network, he will not see your connection. He won't be able to touch it or do anything to it. And it doesn't cost an arm and a leg at all. It allows you to use your computer and your phone at the same speed you normally do, but with an anonymity that shields you. Norton 360 helps you with your discrete logins and passwords, the password program, and they protect your webcam and much, much more. So sign up, protect yourself, norton.com/rush. You'll get more details and be able to save 50% off your first year's plan at norton.com/rush. I'm telling you, the VPN is reason enough to get this, but there are so many more aspects of their security plan. Norton 360. It's at norton.com/rush. Jamie in Shelbyville, Kentucky, great to have you on the program. Hello.
Thank you so much, Rush. Mega dittos, mega prayers.
Thank you.
What you have done for this country is just absolutely unprecedented. We are truth seekers. We've been hearing you, learning from you, and watching all of this. We know it's a globalist, communist, technocrat, Democrat takeover. It's treason. And they've been able to take us over by marketing, distracting, entertaining, and a huge propaganda machine. The extent of their evil is really unimaginable. I believe this is a pandemic, and I'm afraid it's too late. But I think it's time we mobilize. It's past time. We've sought the truth, and we know it's clear what's going on. We need a way, though. And my idea for that is to fight the lies and to take action, is to look at the Democrats, how they handled all this, how this all came about. They implemented community organizers, think tanks, special interest groups. I think we have to get creative and united And like the prior caller said, yeah, news organization, media, putting our energy and money towards that. But we have to get our brilliant, resourceful, truth-seeking, freedom-loving heads and hearts together and fight like our future depends on it. I'd love it if you could help us unite somehow so that we patriots can just rise up and fight this evil. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Well, thank you, Jamie. What do you envision me doing?
Well, I know you know people, and I don't know. I'm just trying to be creative here, but maybe if, like, say, some group that you could advertise that would be interested in maybe even just accepting applications for creative, resourceful people in different communities throughout this country to, on different levels, work to market against this. I mean, everything from bumper stickers, powerful ways like where we can analyze who our audience is, i.e. these people who believe in all this junk. We have to convince them of what's true. I don't know if that'll matter for us in the end, but I think that's the right thing to do, is to get more people to see the truth.
Yeah, that, in fact, has been, if you wanted to try to narrow down my purpose for 30 years, that's been it. Get people see the truth. Get people see the truth about the left. My whole purpose for being here. Well, aside from the business demands and requirements that have to be met. But as far as content is concerned, it has been to educate and inform people about the American left and the Democrat Party and give them sufficient information that would allow them to reject the Democrat Party, to abandon the Democrat Party, to believe and to understand that the Democrat Party is a black hole. And once you end up in it, you end up in a place that's going to be dark and dank, and it's not going to provide you anywhere near what you think this country is capable of. Now, I don't know how you would judge me in terms of success or failure in that objective over the past 30 years, but if I look at it honestly, there's still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot that has to be done, and it's 30 years. And by the way, when I started, I was it. From 1988 to about, well, let's just 1988 to 1997, it was me, and then some of my guest hosts got their own radio shows. And then about 1996 or 97, here came Fox News. Then the blogosphere sprung up, and websites, and the so-called conservative media was born. And that's when the left began to lose their monopoly on everything. And that's when they lost the monopoly, that's when they became partisan participants. That's actually when ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times decided that playing at being objective and fair was not going to do it anymore. They had to take out this new conservative media. They had to destroy it. So they began this instant course of character ruination, character assassination of all of us on the so-called right who they deemed to be effective. And I think that was the beginning of the perception of partisanship. You know, the media has such a powerful impact on our culture, on our society. When the media was as it was up to 1988, some people thought that they were fair, balanced, objective, and all that, and it was just the truth. Whatever Cronkite said, whatever Howard K. Smith said, Peter Jennings, it was the truth. And then they had their commentators and so forth, John Chancellor, Chet Huntley, David Brinkley, all these people. But then, when they lost their monopoly, the people at the networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, became partisan combatants, not just playing the role of objective journalists. They abandoned that. And I think that's when the so-called partisanship in our culture, that's when it began. I've often raised my hand, so I'll take the blame for it. I caused it. Until I came along, the mainstream media was able to pretend that they were news people, that they were journalists. They were able to pretend that what they were doing was the news. And that if they didn't cover it, you didn't need to know about it. Nothing to see here. If they did cover it, it was important. But when they became combatants, you know what I mean by that, Mr. Snur? When they became combatants, when it became their mission not just to be seen as reporting the news, but when they came to be seen as people participating in the partisan warfare in America, on whose side did they fall? They obviously were Democrats. So when the media became obvious Democrats and advanced the Democrat agenda, that's when the so-called partisanship in this country, I think, began. Now, it actually began many years before that, but that's when the perception of it beginning happened. And so the reason this is important is because we get blamed for this partisanship. They sit there and say, hey, everything was fine in this country till you came along. You with your lies and your distortions and your racism and your bigotry. That's what they say. Everything was fine. We had the 3 networks, we had the newspapers, everybody trusted what they said in the media, everybody trusted what we said in the media, and then you come along and you start telling people that we're making this up and making that up. Well, we were right. Yeah, I know, but you didn't ever tell people that. So that's when the partisan divide began, and it's only intensified. And Trump gets elected president, we cut a bunch of years off the future here. When Trump became president, that was the epitome of the people on the left thinking they were losing everything. And so their partisanship became as mean-spirited as it ever has. So now we're in this situation where there isn't any media anymore. We don't have journalism anymore. There's no news. And if that's the case, where do you go? Where do you go to get news? If you're on our side of the aisle and you know that the mainstream media is nothing but the Democrat Party, nothing but the American left, it's nothing but the cattle call leadership of socialism, then where do you go to get news? It used to be, not that long ago, you'd read the New York Times or your local newspaper, maybe USA Today, maybe you read the Washington Post, I don't know. You'd turn on ABC, CBS, NBC, but now where do you go? Because I guarantee you, turn on the New York Times or read it, read the Washington Post, ABC, CBS, NBC, it's all going to be the same stuff. They may present it in different order. It's all going to be the same stories with the same take and the same commentary. So where do you go to find the news? Because there still is news being made out there. It's just nobody's covering it. We do, actually. That's what we've done. That's the way we cover the news. We tell you things happening out there that they don't. The things they don't tell you are happening are things that are damaging to them. Anyway, I'm a little long. I must take a brief break. We'll do that. Be right back after this, folks. Don't go away.
Listen to what the left doesn't want you to hear. Rush on the EIB Network.
during the obscene prophet timeout mere moments ago, Mr. Snerdley, the official program observer, peppered me with a question. The question was, what exactly was, are we ever going to win are you talking about win elections or just... Okay. All right. Mr. Snerdley is asking if we're ever going to be able to win. And he's talking about elections, votes. Are we ever going to be able to win without taking back some of these cities? He's talking about blue cities like New York, Philadelphia. I assume you mean Detroit. Do you include Milwaukee in this? Definitely. All right. What about Oakland, California? Too far gone. San Francisco. You think we get San Francisco? Look, we won election after election after election without winning these cities or the states they're in. I thought you were asking me something else when you said, "Well, can we win?" I meant I thought you meant can we win the culture? Can we dominate the culture? I actually think, and I've referenced this, I've alluded to this a couple of times because I've seen others allude to this. I actually think that we're trending toward secession. I see more and more people asking, what in the world do we have in common with the people who live in, say, New York? What is there that makes us believe that there is enough of us there to even have a chance at winning New York, especially if you're talking about votes? I see a lot of bloggers, I can't think of names right now, a lot of bloggers have written extensively about how distant and separated and how much more separated our culture is becoming politically, and that it can't go on this way. There cannot be a peaceful coexistence of two completely different theories of life, theories of government, theories of how we manage our affairs. We can't be in this dire a conflict without something giving somewhere along the way. And so I know that there is a sizable and growing sentiment for people who believe that that is where we're headed, whether we want to or not. Whether we want to go there or not. I myself haven't made up my mind. So I still haven't given up the idea that we are the majority and that all we have to do is find a way to unite and win. And our problem is the fact that there are just so many rhinos, so many Republicans in the Washington establishment who'll do anything to maintain their membership in the establishment because of the perks and the opportunities that are presented for their kids and so forth. But I can't expand on this at the moment because I've got another break. But we'll be back and continue in a moment.
Doing the work that the mainstream American media just won't do. Rush on the EIB network.
So every day, people call here with ideas what we all have to do, and every idea requires everybody else doing something. And I politely listen to these ideas. And I try to figure out how best to restructure them and analyze them in some meaningful way, and I keep doing it.
Attention EIP affiliates. Stand by for the Rush Limbaugh promo feed. Copyright 2020. EIP Network. Start all recording devices in 3, 2, 1. Now.
Rush Limbaugh. Nan, the Villages, Florida, you're next. It's great to have you here.
Rush Limbaugh.
If Biden becomes president, what do you want Trump to do the next 4 years?
I'd love to see him start a news network, and all the other fake news will go by the wayside.
Interesting. So you want Trump to spend his entire fortune building a news network and investigating all the Democrats. Well, I could go for that myself. Nan, the Villages, Florida, you're next. It's great to have you here. If Biden becomes president, what do you want Trump to do the next 4 years?
I'd love to see him start a news network, and all the other fake news will go by the wayside.
Interesting. So you want Trump to spend his entire fortune building a news network and investigating all the Democrats. Well, I could go for that myself.
The Rush Limbaugh Week in Review.
It's extremely frustrating here, folks, what the Democrat Party gets away with, and they get away with everything because there is no media. It's that simple. They get away with everything because there isn't a media tracking down Eric Swalwell. If a media tracks Eric Swalwell, finds out that he's in bed with a Chi-Com spy, they'll cover it up for him. They don't care. If they think he's valuable to the cause, they'll cover it up. There is no media. It's extremely frustrating here, folks, what the Democrat Party gets away with, and they get away with everything because there is no media. It's that simple. They get away with everything because there isn't a media tracking down Eric Swalwell. If a media tracks Eric Swalwell, finds out that he's in bed with a Chi-Com spy, they'll cover it up for him. They don't care. If they think he's valuable to the cause, they'll cover it up. There is no media.
It's the radio show with the most
fun, the most informative, the most educational, the most penetrating.
But wait, there's more.
The most provocative, the most addictive radio talk show in America.
The show that has it all.
Hosted by me, Rush Limbaugh, the all-knowing, all-caring, all-sensing, all-feeling
Rush Limbaugh, a.k.a.
Maharashi.
This concludes the promo feed. Production directors everywhere. Be with us next time as we make your life easier on the EIB network. Joe Biden, respectable, resolute.
I've never been bought by any special interest. My word as a Biden.
While Joe can't be bought, he can be rented at reasonable rates at opportune times. References are available from the state-owned Bank of China, a Ukrainian oligarch's natural gas company, and countless lobbyists right here in the good old USA. Contact Hunter Biden today to let Joe lay it on thick for you.
You know, that kid of mine, my kid, Hunter, he has a lot of courage. In the middle of China, Hunter told them, "Don't give me that money." "No, sir. Don't give me that money. Do not give me that money, sir." "No." But they don't speak English, you know. So we cashed in. It was a big deal.
Joe Biden, respectable, resolute, for rent. And now, saving the world with Al Gore Jr.
Hello, this is Albert Gore Jr. If you've been wondering what I've been doing with my time lately,
Well, my friends at East Anglia sent me off on an important emergency scientific mission to measure the snowfall here in Rio de Janeiro. Right now, I know it may be hard for some of you to believe that global warming still exists, but it does, right here in South America. So to prevent further warming, just think of the snow as nature's bounty, cooling the earth, helping her heal. Using chemicals or snowplows to melt or remove it is counterproductive to the ecosystem. So avoid blemishing it in any way by just staying inside and allowing the snow to melt naturally. Carlos, could you bring me another pinas coladas?
It's pronounced pina colada.
Carlos, don't argue with me. I'm a professor.
Join us next time as we once again save the world with Al Gore Jr.
I'm a professor. Professor.
I rode with my kid in the front seat to soccer practice. Does that make me a bad parent?
Yes, it does. And you would have known if you read Bad Living magazine.
There's a new study that shows people who eat red meat from cows that inhaled secondhand smoke are 3% more likely to get sick than people who don't. Should I be scared?
Yes, and that's the point of Bad Living. When you subscribe to Bad Living, you'll be reminded of all the ways you put yourself and those around you in danger every day.
I didn't even realize that my SUV was endangering other drivers and destroying the ozone hole and increasing our chances of getting hit by a giant asteroid. But since I subscribe to Bad Living, I'm afraid of almost everything, and I want everyone around me to be too.
Call now and receive the bonus pamphlet, The Top 1,500 Things You Should Be Terrified About.
I called, and I'm glad I did. The first issue told me how to get rid of all the sharp objects in my home.
Call 1-800-PARANOID and receive our latest issue of Bad Living magazine, featuring 10 reasons you should be afraid to leave your home.
Thanks, Bad Living.
Hi, folks. Welcome back. Great to have you with us. Rush Limbaugh, middle of the week Wednesday. This is Hump Day. It's December. It's Christmas. It's the most wonderful, beautiful time of the year, traditionally. And a lot of people are trying to make it so again this year. You gotta love them. You gotta love the people trying to keep tradition alive. Because there are so many people who are doing just the opposite. They're trying to destroy every American tradition they get their hands on. Every American institution they can get their hands on. It is, for some people, it's depressing. For other people, it just makes them mad. Others just scratch their heads and say, why can't people just be happy? Why does everybody have to be so mad all the time? Well, everybody isn't mad all the time. The people who are mad all the time are people on the left. And I know it sounds simplistic to say, but just ask yourself something. If you doubt me, when's the last time you ever saw one of those people literally happy? Even after they have won something they claimed to have really wanted, some legislative idea, some new government benefit, whatever it is. When's the last time you saw them happy? When's the last time you saw them smile? You cannot satisfy them. You cannot give them enough. No matter how much they want, you give it to them, they always want more. They are perpetual victims, which is why they cannot be happy. They are perpetual victims. They are victims of this country's racism and bigotry, its unfairness. And they infect everybody with their pessimism. They infect everybody with the negativism. And they are relentless. I have a column here by Jason Whitlock. At the website is Outkick.com. China's ban on Twitter might be its single greatest advantage over the United States of America. China's ban on Twitter. Social media has accelerated America's transition from a competition-based society to an attention-based one. This acceleration can be mostly easily seen in the world of sports. This is a key point, folks, so stick with me here. Social media, which is poison, has accelerated America's transition from a competition-based society to an attention-based society. In other words, competition is bad. It hurts people's feelings because there are people that don't win, and it's not fair. So what have we transitioned to? Notice me. Hey, notice me. I'm here. I matter. Hey. And as long as you notice somebody and they can get your attention, they're happy. But don't expect them to have to compete for it. Now, Whitlock says that this acceleration can be most easily seen in the world of sports. The modern-day Muhammad Ali, he says, is Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick has the resume of Jimmy Young, a heavyweight boxer most famous for losing a controversial decision to Ali. You no longer have to be the greatest to even be compared to the greatest. You simply need to win the social media attention competition. The young ladies at Vanderbilt University have been inspired by the Kaepernick model. The Commodores women's basketball team announced via Twitter on Tuesday afternoon that they will not be partaking in the pregame national anthem. They will sit inside their locker room and mourn racial injustice while the national anthem is being played in the arena. Yeah, that'll fix it. No one cares all that much about the Vanderbilt women's basketball team. They haven't advanced to the NCAA tournament in 6 seasons. They've never won the SEC regular season title. Their current coach, Stephanie White, has a lot in common with former football coach Derek Mason. She's under a lot of pressure entering this season. In her previous 4 seasons at Vanderbilt, the Commodores have never finished higher than tied for 12th in the SEC. Last month, Mason tried to save his job by recruiting a player from the Squirrels women's soccer team to squib a second-half kickoff. He wanted her for one play. The publicity stunt worked to perfection. Sarah Fuller's 30-yard kick was treated like the left-hand shot Buster Douglas delivered to knock out Mike Tyson. You remember that, right? Big story. 30-yard kickoff. Not even for points. Just a squib onside kick. But a woman did it. She joined the guys' football team. She proved that women can play with the guys. All she did was squib kick a football off a tee. But the kick heard round the world did not rescue Mason. Vanderbilt fired him 2 days later. His virtue signal and the attention lathered on Sarah Fuller did, however, inspire young women on the Vanderbilt basketball team. They publicly announced their decision to privately mourn racial injustice. You see, it's an attention grab. Attention, not competition, is becoming the point of sports. This week, Sports Illustrated named 5 activist athletes Sports Persons of the Year. NBA star LeBron James, NFL star Patrick Mahomes, WNBA player Breanna Stewart, tennis star Naomi Osaka, and retired NFL lineman Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. Now, Whitlock says here he's a Chiefs fan. Mahomes and Duvernay-Tardif are and were Chiefs players. Mahomes, my favorite athlete at the moment, he writes. Mahomes' activism comes down to fronting a couple of Black Lives Matter commercials and tweeting in solidarity with LeBron. Duvernay-Tardif, a doctor, didn't play football this season. He wrote on Twitter that he opted out over concerns about COVID and fear that he could unintentionally transmit the disease. Sports Illustrated claims that Duvernay-Tardif opted out so he could work on the front lines of the medical pandemic. The reality is he's no more heroic than Avery Bradley, the Lakers guard who opted out of the NBA bubble for the same reason Duvernay-Tardif did. What's being promoted by Sports Illustrated, the mainstream media, and social media is media-approved activism and attention whoring. Competition's being de-emphasized. And I'm supposed to be ashamed that I'm bothered by this. But I'm not. An attention-based society cannot compete with China, folks. An attention-based society cannot compete with the Chi-Coms. Communist-run country rapidly changing American culture. Now, I don't support banning Twitter. That's what communist anti-freedom countries do. What we used to do in America is break up monopolies, especially ones that operate as undemocratically as Twitter and Facebook. The activist athlete isn't changing America for the better. He or she is simply building a brand to be monetized domestically and globally. And the global monetization process stops first in China. The Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, the political apparatus running China, financially rewards leagues like the NBA, corporations like Nike, athletes like LeBron and Kaepernick, and entertainers like movie stars willing to smear America as inherently racist, sexist, and evil. China doesn't care about American winners. It cares about athletes and entertainers who can bring the most attention to their anti-American propaganda campaign because it's now an attention-based society. So the more people you can attract to you by being anti-America, the more valuable you are to the Chinese, and they will underwrite you and they will fund you, and they'll make sure you don't need to be hired by the NFL, Colin, in order to have a lifestyle. China bans Twitter because it wants its citizens focused on competition with America. China manipulates our social media apps because our competition for attention undermines the competitive spirit that used to define our culture and made us the envy of the world. Whitlock has been on a roll lately about what's happening to the United States, and he's using the world of sports as the looking glass. And he sees a rapid deterioration of the essence of sports, and that's the competitive nature of it. And it's being replaced by notice me, attention-grabbing things that are then used for political purposes. Back to the audio sound bites. I have Trump lawyer Jordan Sekulow was on Newsmax last night, and they were talking about the Texas case that we referenced earlier that the Supreme Court has taken. And, you know, it's going to be real fascinating to see what the court does with it. They've taken the case. We don't know how that is going to manifest itself. But, man, there are so many clear violations of law that are obvious in the case as it's been written in the lawsuit. And it's going to be real hard to ignore. These are serious violations of law. So let's listen. This is one of Trump's lawyers, Jordan Sekulow. The question, okay, we got the Pennsylvania case basically thrown out, but Texas, then just a snowballing effect of states joining Texas. That's got to hold weight with the Supreme Court, right?
The states that were named, they have to now respond by Thursday at 3 p.m. to this bill of complaint. And they have to respond to very specific items. So the Supreme Court is not just considering what Texas filed today. They are now going the next step, which is saying we want a response from the states named. Again, I think it's very clear. This is the case we've been talking about to reach SCOTUS. This is the outcome determinative case. 62 electoral college votes at stake, enough to change the outcome of the election. This is the be-all, end-all case. This is the major challenge, the one we were waiting for.
Now, this is Team Trump. This is the one Team Trump has been aiming at all along. The Pennsylvania case was the campaign. The Trump campaign had nothing to do with that case. That was other people were behind that. And that case is, unfortunately, it's been dismissed or thrown out, which is too bad. But Sekulow is right here. This case, and Alito signaled that they were interested in this way back when he gave them the date of today, that a number of things had to be rectified. These votes had to be sequestered finally. They had to be separated. They weren't when the mail-in versus the same-day election. But there are enough electoral votes up for grabs here to change this election. And there were clear violations of law in these states. The constitutions of these states clearly say that only the state legislature can make and or change election law. State secretaries of state cannot, yet they did in Pennsylvania, in Michigan. Secretaries of state and other state officials arbitrarily changed the way votes were counted, changed the way mail-in ballots were dealt with. All of that is against the law. Putting it in common vernacular. Here's Ken Paxton. This morning on Fox and Friends. This is Texas Attorney Ken Paxton, and the question, why is Texas getting involved in this in the first place?
These elections in other states where state law was not followed as required by the Constitution affects my voters because these are national elections. And so if there are fraudulent activities or things that affect an election and state law is not followed as is required by the Constitution, it affects our state. It affects every state. A state-on-state action has to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's the only place we can go. So we're very hopeful that they'll at least hear our arguments.
Look, that's a very key point as well. When it's state versus state, the case can and has to go to the Supreme Court first. The Supreme Court's an appellate court. The Supreme Court never hears a case for the first time. It's not a trial court, except in these circumstances. State versus state has to go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court took it. And Paxton here is saying, look, if they get away with this in these four states, they're corrupting election law everywhere. We've got to stop it. Next question, is the horse out of the barn, though? I mean, it's been 5 weeks. A lot of these judges, 50 cases without a victory. A lot of these courts are saying, I don't want anything to do with this. Okay, back to where we were, where the broadcast engineer just had a brain fart and stopped paying attention. What I intended to play here was audio soundbite number 5, the second bite from Ken Paxton. Is the horse out of the barn? It's been 5 weeks. A lot of these judges, there's been 50 cases, and without a victory, a lot of these courts are saying, I don't want to hear it.
Even though the genie's out of the bottle, our argument isn't necessarily directly about the fraud. Our argument is that because these states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin did not follow their own state law, and that these orders were by other elected officials to change the law or by other judges, that is unconstitutional. Therefore, we can't go back and fix it, but we can say, okay, let's transfer this to the legislature, which used to do this in other states, and let them to decide the outcome of the election. That would be a valid constitutional situation.
And it's exactly right. So one of the objectives here, the remedy, is to send the election back to the state legislatures, since they were aced out. They really were ignored, and election law in these swing state cities was changed. Now, given that the state legislatures in these states are likely going to be Democrat, they probably don't even care. As long as the end result happened. The end result, Biden wins. As far as they're concerned, that's fine. But Paxton said, look, the genie's out of the bottle. Our argument isn't necessarily directed to the fraud. Our argument is because these states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin didn't follow their own law, and that these orders were by other elected officials to change the law or by other judges. That's unconstitutional. He says we can't go back and fix it. I disagree with that, but nevertheless, we can say, let's transfer this to the legislature. Now, Trump has tweeted that he's going to be intervening in the Texas case and many others. He said, this is the big one. Our country needs a victory. That was from 8:44 this morning. Now, Texas's challenge to the Supreme Court, it really isn't a partisan issue. It's always been about the rule of law. There are governors in states that are overriding state legislatures with orders that change the rules passed into law of how elections are conducted. Now, I realize that and this is a sad state, but I realize there are people, come on, Rush, do you realize, just drop it. Nothing's going to change here. You just got to learn to let these things go. I understand the sentiment. You think all is lost. It's too late in the day. There's not enough time. But, man, the Constitution has to matter. If it's this easy, and it always has been, it's amazing this country's lasted as long as it has. I marvel at it. I really do. The Constitution is just a bunch of pieces of paper with words on them. It does not per se have a military. The Constitution is not per se armed. If we elect somebody as president who wants to become a dictator, all he's got to do is ignore the Constitution, and yet nobody has. In all of our history, that Constitution somehow has kept people, now the left has tried to find little ways around it here and there while making it look like they still support it. But given human nature, the quest for power, a lot of people have the idea that we still governed by that Constitution. It's amazing.
Now, Albert Gore Jr. with one more way you can save the planet.
Instead of driving, try riding your bicycle to work and simplify your life. If only 1 in 5 Americans did this, we would save 196 billion barrels of oil every day. Ride a bike created from recycled metal from a manufacturer that uses at least 50% solar or wind power. Instead of air, try filling your tires with CO2 by blowing them up with your lips, like a balloon, trapping this dangerous greenhouse gas. Don't forget to reduce your use of harmful plastics by going seatless. You'll be surprised at the results of taking plastic out of your carbon footprint. Be sure and wear proper earth-friendly attire. Create your own hand-knitted shorts from discarded dryer lint, gathered from the dumpster behind your local washateria. Create nifty sandals from newspaper and rubber bands and twist ties and pieces of string that you find along.
You're over time. We need to cut.
We can't cut it anymore. I won't have time to tell them how to simplify their life.
Last year, a free and fair election was conducted across the nation so that all Americans could unite behind the next great president of the United States. But Hillary didn't win. So now, black robes matter, baby. Yeah, self-elected streetwise judges getting their honor on by making up law like an eyewitness in Ferguson.
And then I seen that Trump, he ain't got no standing in this man's courtroom.
Move over, Donald, because only black robes matter now.
Behind this bow tie, I'm a gangster.
In a federal court near you. Do you have trouble being taken seriously?
How did you know?
Do you long for that certain special something lacking in your voice?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to make your average thoughts and ideas seem powerful and gifted?
Yeah.
Well, now you can have that confident, authoritative, God-like sound wherever you go with the Obamatron Verberator Pro. The Obamatron Verberator Pro is the only portable reverberation device personally endorsed by Barack Obama because it's so simple to use. Just implant the tiny sensor.
Wait.
And you can set your Verberator Pro for any occasion. Choose from Stately.
Wow, that is different. I feel so presidential. I come before you today to ask you for one of those tiny umbrellas for my drink.
Canyon.
Hello.
And for large egos, Der Führermeister.
I have led the accounting department to new and greater heights.
This holiday season, give the gift that no one can forget, the Obamatron Verberator Pro. The Verberator Pro is not for everybody on your list.
Some enchanted evening, you will see a stranger.
And may become annoying after a short period of time.
Looking good, huh? I'm talking about me.
Welcome back, Rush Limbaugh on the Cutting Edge. Great to have you with us, my friends. The most listened to radio talk show in the country. I'm told that I don't know what I'm talking about, that every president since Calvin Coolidge has, ignored the Constitution, that we now live in the post-Constitution era. Well, that's I was just told this. Every president's ignored the Constitution. Everyone since Calvin Coolidge. Even Levin says so. Did you know that? Even Levin's, yes, so that makes it law. That makes it. All right, folks, it happens every day. Computers, just like the one you rely on, can and will crash. They do. It might give you some advance notice, but most times it just snaps. It just stops. It just freezes. Replacing the physical computer, laptop, or desktop, it's one thing you can do. There's all kinds of options. Most of the time it's an upgrade, but it's the data on your computer that becomes priceless. Just imagine that everything on your computer is no longer accessible to you. Imagine it's wiped out. It's why you have backups, data backups. Now, the company we recommend you rely on for this is iDrive. I, as in the letter, Drive. This is a company that helps you back up everything on your computer to iDrive cloud-based computers that's off-site, always online. That means it's safe, sound, and secure, and accessible 24/7. iDrive is industry best, 6 years running now. PC Mag has awarded iDrive their Editor's Choice Award. 6 years in a row. Are you kidding me? I haven't won the Marconi 6 years in a row, and there's nobody else doing this. 6 years in a row for these people. That's amazing. And like us, they see how innovative and easy iDrive is to use and how secure and accessible your data is. The one day you're going to quickly need it, you will have it. You will be able to get whatever you lost instantly because it's backed up. Sign up today, iDrive.com. Use my name when you do. You know what? You'll save 90% off the first year. Now, you might say, well, Rush, come on, can't be worth much if they're giving you that much. No. They want you. They love their service. They're so proud of it. They want as many people using it as possible. They believe in it. 90% off the first year. They are that excited to have you discover how smart this is to do. iDrive.com. Use the name Rush. Same sign-up process, 90% off. Dee in Atlanta. Great to have you. Hello.
Hello. First, I want to say, may God continue to bless you. You are an inspiration to all of us for the way you handle yourself and your illness.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, now, I'm just appalled at what's going on. I mean, William Barr, who's supposed to be a wonderful conservative, the Durham report and the investigation went nowhere. No one seems to be punished for this. It's all kinds of illegal happening. And then on top of it, Mr. Barr says that he sees no fraud in this election.
Didn't he walk that back somewhat?
I'm not aware of it if he did.
I think he tried to. I didn't see it, but I read that he had tried to walk it back somewhat. Now, don't lose your train of thought here. As to the Durham report, we are all scratching our heads over this. Everybody. I think even the president was expecting a report before the election. And it didn't happen. But what Barr has done, he has named Durham a special counsel. That means, wait. That means the investigation is going to go on. It means that Biden is going to have a real tough time firing Durham if he wants to. It would be akin to if Trump had tried to fire Mueller.
I heard that he was going to terminate. I heard on the news that he was going to terminate the special counsel once Biden became president. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard.
When did you hear that?
A couple of days ago.
You heard that Barr was going to terminate
the special counsel once Biden was sworn into office.
No, yes. Wait. You mean?
But I have something else to say about this.
Okay. We'll just leave that out there because I don't. You say he was going to terminate Durham or the special counsel law?
The special counsel. Not Durham, but, it would go nowhere, in other words.
Okay. What's your other point?
Now, I continue with the decision. You'd have to be dumb or blind or deaf or mentally retarded to not realize that there was some fraud in this particular election. Here we have 5 conservatives on the Supreme Court, and they didn't take the Pennsylvania case. There definitely needed to be some investigation, but they didn't want to get their hands dirty. I understand that they don't want to make a decision about the election, but where does that leave us as a people? Now, the Texas thing is now, you're saying that they took it, but I don't know what that means because they're asking for the states that are involved to have some kind of response, which is exactly what they did in the Pennsylvania matter. They asked, Pennsylvania to have a response, and then they just dismissed it. My point is if they don't take this Texas case and hear arguments and do something with 5 conservative judges, what difference does it make if the court is packed? They leave us to this fraud, to, again, breaking of the law, and all this nonsense. When you talk about secession, which I never thought of, it gives me a little peace. But otherwise, I'm just appalled at all of this.
Well, I can imagine you are, given what you think. The Supreme Court has taken the Texas case.
What does that mean exactly?
It means they're going to hear it. They're going to hear arguments.
That's going to happen.
That's apparently, I mean, unless I don't know the language anymore.
No.
But that's entirely possible. But they're going to take it. Trump's all excited about it. He's going to intervene. He meant he's going to join the case. Trump actually had another tweet this morning. He said, "We will soon be learning about the word courage and saving our country. I received hundreds of thousands of legal votes more in all the swing states than did my opponent. All data taken after the vote says that it was impossible for me to lose unless it was fixed." This is the case they've always wanted to go before the Supreme Court. This is the campaign's case. This is the Trump campaign's case. And they were given the signal late yesterday afternoon that the court is going to take it up. So that's next on the docket. Up next, Greg in Polk County, Tennessee. Great to have you on the EIB network. Hello.
Hi, Rush. Dittos and prayers and Thanksgiving for you for all the good work you do. After seeing all the things that they've missed, the FBI, the NSA, and the CIA, they missed the 9/11 hijackers, they missed Fung Fung, and they sat on Hunter's laptop, and then they persecute the president and General Flynn. I think we need to have an amendment so that civil servants can only serve 10 years, and then they have to go and get a real job in the private sector. They basically, it's like we have a whole other country running us, and we're just the helots, the vassals, the people, the underlings. That they view us basically as peasants, and they need to go after 10 years.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, just we got people staying in Washington that are too long. They need to get away from Washington after 10 years, not come within 100 miles of Washington. That culture is killing us. It needs to be uprooted and sent away.
All right. I'm glad you called.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. You bet. Now I'm being told that I got a guy says he's not sure the Supreme Court's taking the case. So I don't know what's going on, folks. I haven't the slightest idea. We'll take a break and be back right after this.
America's Anchorman, Rush, on the EIB Network.
Okay, welcome back, my friends. Wrapping it up for our final big moments of the EIB network today. This is John in Cheshire, Connecticut. Welcome, sir. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Rush. God bless you. You've said on many occasions in the past that we are not going to fix all these problems in one election. And as we're seeing, the problems are so much deeper than almost anyone can believe. And it's really a worldwide thing. And the bottom line for me is I trust President Trump 100%. And I know that he has a plan. People look at him and he shoots from the hip and all this stuff. Everything that he does, he plays a strategic card, and to me, it's brilliant. And you just said that he got the case that he wanted now, and here it is. And I remember just a couple of weeks ago, everybody getting in a tizzy over the fact that the lawyers got up there, the 3 lawyers, and they didn't present any evidence. Well, they said in the very beginning, and they said it multiple times, that the purpose of that presentation was not to give specific evidence, but just to do an outline of what was going to happen. And here we are a few weeks later, and we're seeing everything shake out the way it's shaking out. So, I want to tell people to believe in him. He has a plan. He's set them up every step of the way. He's come out on top and everything. And to those people who wanted the arrest to happen right away and, Hillary and all this other stuff, it wouldn't have worked. There's no way it would have worked because all I have to do is point you to Emmett Sullivan, okay? And we're also seeing the corruption that's in the judiciary, throughout the whole country. Obama had a long time, and even George Bush failed us in terms of putting the right people in those roles. Mitch McConnell's done a great job as far as putting judges in place that will follow the law. There's still a lot of work to be done. And, we have to hope that the Supreme Court does the right thing, including you, Mr. John Roberts, on this, because it's pretty cut and dry that, the country is being disenfranchised here. And a lot of props here to Texas and all these other states that join in.
You think Trump has a master plan?
Oh, no question about it. He's been a step ahead of them.
He has a master plan for what?
Well, the thing of it is, the important thing is that the people had to be shown. There's the depth of the corruption, and that's what's happening. It's really not, Rush, about the 30 million listeners, that you have. We're on board, but it's the fight for the minds of those people that are, maybe on the fence. And, we saw that with 75 million votes, and I have a feeling it's probably more than that because, I'm here in Connecticut. And, some of these other states, I'm sure that there were plenty of votes that were, stolen there, too, to get those that popular vote up. But the idea is to get those people that are on the fence, win their hearts and minds over one at a time. And I think he's been doing that over a period of 4 years. And now what's coming out, with China and what we're seeing, is happening there, that's, for many people, that's going to be a bridge too far.
If they hear about it.
Well, we have that problem right now because people are being censored all over the place, on Twitter and Facebook, and that's just going to continue, and that's going to up the game. So the lady before said, well, what can we do? We're in this is information warfare, really, and we really need to find ways that people that we're close to get these messages out. That's why they don't want us together for Thanksgiving or the holidays or, stuff, because we'll be in front of our friends and relatives and those people, and, we might influence them or enlighten them to the things that are actually going on here. So a lot of this, that mask is really a muzzle, and, they really want to keep us muzzled.
Right. Well, did you say Muslim or muzzle?
Muzzled.
Honestly, God, sound like he called a mask a Muslim to me. That's why I had to ask. It's my hearing. All right, thanks out there, John. I'm glad you got to Huntsville, Alabama. Next, Scott, great to have you with us on the EIB Network. Hello.
Hey, Rush, Pinkett Dittos from Huntsville. We love you. Been a listener since 1988.
Well, it's great to have you here.
It's great to be on. I've been just great. Thank you, and make it prayers.
Thank you, sir.
I think that Durham is being protected by being appointed the way that Barr did, so that he can protect Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Obama, and Clinton's. So I take a little different approach to that.
So you think you think that Barr appointed Durham to basically protect Clapper, Comey, Brennan, the Clintons, and Charlie Tree?
Yes, sir. I certainly do.
So we're being lied to about that. That Durham's not out there trying to find the details on how Trump's campaign was spied on.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Well, why would Durham have to protect anybody? There was no investigation of these people to begin with.
I think holding the investigation off until after the election was a mistake. I think that what William Barr did in his public announcement of no fraud, no apparent evidence to turn the election, I think that it was all predicated upon his next move, which is to protect Brennan, Clapper, Comey from being indicted even after the election.
Well, after the election is now. We don't even know. We don't even know if Durham's alive. Has anybody seen the guy? We don't even know where the guy has been. We know that there's a grand jury, but we don't know jack about what Durham's been doing. And now, Alabamans, I mean, folks, they know. And if Durham's there to protect Clapper, it's worse than I.
Rush Limbaugh, simply brilliant on the EIB network.